Hello and welcome to episode 18 of the Knitting Pickle Podcast. My name is Laura. I am a knitter and knitwear designer and I live in the UK with my husband and my 2 children. I haven't posted for a little while because it's been quite a busy few weeks for me, which I will go into in a second. But I am back with you today. I have got a few finished objects. Yes, I've got 2 finished objects and two brand new whips that you have not seen before. I'm going to go into those later on, and I also have a little special acquisition for you today, which is something I've not done before, not shared before, and I'm really looking forward to telling you guys about it. It's not sponsored, it was gifted to me, just for full clarity, but we'll get more into that later on. So, before we get into all the projects, I just wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone who has so far supported my new pattern, the Summer Soufflé. It was released yesterday and it's going really well so far. I'm really pleased with it. It was a long time in the making. It took a lot more work than I thought it would. When I had the idea to do the summer version of my original souffle pattern, I just thought, oh, it'll be easy, the stitch counts will be really similar and it'll just, it'll be fine. But it ended up being a lot more complicated than that, and I ended up going with 12 sizes rather than 10, so that there was more to choose from basically, because it is a slightly more fitted garment. And then during the test knit, we discovered that cotton blend DK summer yarns really vary in weight, so some people were really struggling to get gauge. So I then changed the pattern to give measurements for a 20 stitch gauge and a 22 stitch gauge, so that hopefully plenty of people can find a gauge and a size that will work for them. So it went live yesterday. Today is Wednesday. This might go live today or it might be tomorrow, Thursday. So it's basically recently been released, and I'm doing a 15% off discount for you, which you can get on Ravelry and on my website, which is another thing I'll talk about in a minute. All automatic, you don't need any codes, and that will be available until the end of the day on Friday the 10th. On Friday the 10th. So yeah, go and get your copy of the Summer Soufflé, and thank you in advance. I would normally do a little bit of live chat at the end of the video, but I'm gonna cover it first, just so it's out and done and I've said it all and I don't have to think about it again, because I've been through quite a lot in the past few weeks I want to share with you. But before we go into that, we're in a new place. We're in a new room. I have finally got round to sorting out the yarn stash. I'm not fully done. This is just one set of shelves, and I've got another set of shelves next to it, which is where all my notions, needles, project bags and stuff are going to go, but I don't have any containers for them. So I need to go and do some shopping basically, but I've only got a few hours to myself today, so it was either film a podcast or go shopping, so I chose the podcast. But I've basically gone through all my yarn stash, and I got rid of 2 massive bags of yarn yesterday. I put them on my village Facebook group saying, does anybody want these for free? And someone came and picked them up within the hour, which was wicked. So I've got rid of all that yarn out of my life. It's not been thrown away, it will be used, and the lady said that if she doesn't use it, then she's going to give it to I think it's a local Cub Scouts or something like that to be used. So yeah, I'm really pleased that all that yarn is out of my life and into somebody else's. And I'm really pleased that I did it, because I feel like I can finally see my yarn. I can see it all, I can see how much I've got of it. It looks really pretty. It's kind of roughly organised. I've got all my white yarn here, and these are my my sweater quantities. I've got weird quantities of everything. You can't see all of it, but I might do a little kind of show of it at the end of this video. And I did take some footage yesterday of me sorting it all out, but it was taking so long to film it and talk about everything, and I just found it really boring. I'm sorry, I was going to film a yarn stash tour, but it was boring to film, so it was going to be boring to edit, and it just wouldn't have been a very good video because you would have been able to tell that I was bored. So I've saved you all from that. But yeah, we are in here. This is the office technically. My husband's desk and computer is behind you. He works from home 2 times a week, sometimes less, sometimes more. And basically this is going to also be my like office, kind of like work creative space, if that makes any sense. This is a chair from the living room, which I've just hotched in here for now, but I'm looking for something that's like maybe like a chaise longue or something with a footstool, something big and comfy, so that I can come and sit in here and knit in the quiet and the peace. And I've got a great big door / window in front of me here that looks out onto the view of the field, and yeah, it's a nice little spot and it feels a bit cozy. I am next to the road, so I'm sorry about any car noises going past, but I have got a fluffy guy on my microphone, so that should take off most of the noise. So yeah, that's where we are. We are here today in my new spot. Hopefully this goes well. The lighting is a little bit more consistent in here, I hope. So yeah, welcome. So, in my last episode I mentioned that I hadn't been feeling very well recently, and actually during filming of that episode I had a call with my doctor, and since then I've been for numerous blood tests, I've seen some consultants, and they have discovered that I have something called Graves' disease, which isn't as scary as it sounds. It's an autoimmune disease that is basically attacking my thyroid, which is causing hypothyroidism, which is why I was feeling, or still am, feeling tired all the time, shaky, weak, hot all the time, sweaty, losing weight, losing hair, and just, yeah, so many things that were happening. I knew something was wrong, and I'd read about hypothyroid, and I was like, nah, it won't be that, it'll just be iron deficiency or something. But yeah, my blood results were like, yeah, your thyroid is going mad. I think the hardest bit, like the week before I managed to see a consultant, was the symptoms were getting really, really bad. Basically every morning, every afternoon, I'd get to a point where my heart was racing, it was thudding in my chest, and I hadn't been moving. I'd be sitting still, my heart was racing, I was shaking, and I felt really weak and tired, and it was just really, really horrible feeling, especially when I was looking after the kids. I couldn't just get into bed and go to sleep. I kind of had to just get through it, and it was getting quite worrying. But now I've seen my doctor, I've been put on a few different types of medication. I'm taking beta blockers to slow my heart rate, which has made a huge difference. Those kind of horrible shaky spells don't happen anymore. I'm still really tired all the time, and I have cut out caffeine because I found that was making my symptoms worse, as it would, like it's a stimulant, right? I think it couldn't have been just a coincidence that I was having these horrible shaky spells in the morning, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and I'd have a morning coffee and an afternoon coffee. So since cutting out caffeine, my symptoms have got a little bit better. However, it does mean I feel the tiredness so much more. I get to like 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I am like, I'm wiped. It's like first trimester tired, and nothing compares to that. Fortunately, so what I've been doing recently is I've been doing something in the morning with the kids, taking the Soufflé, play date, something like that. Get them out in the morning, do something fun. And then when we get home, we are all tired. So if I'm feeling really bad, we all get into my bed, the kids have their iPads, I put an arm around each one so that I can feel them, and I just like snooze. So then if one of them moves, I wake up. And that's the only way I can get some rest at the moment. And obviously at the weekends I have like lions and stuff, and I try and catch up as much as possible. I try and go to sleep as early as possible, but it's not always that easy when the kids don't go to bed till late, and then I've only got an hour with my husband. So it's about finding a balance at the moment. And then I've also been put on a drug that's going to slow down my thyroid, but that can take quite a few weeks to come into effect. So I'm still feeling quite a lot of the symptoms until that really kicks in. The other thing you might be able to tell at the moment is that I have hay fever, and I have it hard. I actually have a pollen allergy, which is different to hay fever, but it's just that time of year. Here we go again. So it's just that time of year where everyone's struggling a little bit. Forgive me that I sound nasal, but what can you do? So yeah, and then the other thing is that my beta blockers are making me wheezy, so I'm a little bit out of breath, I'm a little bit hoarse. It's just coming at me from all directions today, but I didn't want to put off filming any longer because it's been nearly 4 weeks and I don't know what's going to be happening next week, so I was like, let's just get on with it. So there we are. that's where I'm at. That's what I've been going through. And I think because of how I've been feeling, my kind of knitting production has been a lot slower than normal, which is totally fine. I'm usually quite a prolific knitter, but because I've just been so tired, a lot of my normal knitting time I'm literally just doing nothing. I have done thousands of level on Candy Crush, that's for sure. But the knitting has been a little bit less. But the mojo's coming back again now, and I've been working on a few things that I've been really enjoying. And I've also been able to use quite a lot of time to get a lot of like the admin stuff done. Even if I don't have the energy to sit and knit, I will have the energy to sit on my laptop, do some editing, answer some emails, and go through all kind of the behind the scenes thing of pattern designing, which is actually kind of, I spend more time, more hours on the admin side of things than I do on the actual knitting, which I guess is to be expected. And I'm getting better at the admin, I'm getting more efficient at the admin, I'm better at keeping on top of emails and with my edits and stuff. At the moment it's quite up and down. I can sometimes get through 3 edits in a day, sometimes I don't do 1 edit for a week. But that's the joy of being my own boss and setting my own deadlines. I'm being easy on myself, I'm not pushing myself too hard. The next patterns that are in the kind of process are the Chantilly cardigan and vest. They are currently at my editor, and then they're going to have a really, really long test. My aim is to get the test call going by the end of the month. It's the beginning of June, or it's the first week of June. My aim is to get the test call going by the end of June, so that my testers have all of July, all of August, like 8 to 10 weeks, loads and loads of time, so they're ready for the autumn. So it feels good to not be putting too much pressure on myself, not trying to bosh out things too quick. At the beginning of the year my goal was to do 10 patterns a year, but that's not going to happen, and I don't want it to happen. That would be too much for me. I'm not there yet. I haven't got like the time or the energy to do that yet. So I'm happy to just kind of go at my own pace while I'm in this phase of life, and then next September, when both my children are in school, I'm going to have 5 days a week to work on this stuff, and maybe I'll be able to produce a little bit more. But I'm really enjoying the pace I'm going at the moment. And I have also been able to launch my website. Yay! It's something I've wanted to do for a while, but I was so intimidated by it. I was thinking deep down, this isn't going to happen this year. I'm not going to do it. I don't really need a website. But I had a bit of a pep talk from my sister, who is a graphic designer and does all the websites. It kind of talked me through what I had to do. And in the end, I used a service called Wix, which was fantastic. I just chose a template, and then you go in, you change the colours, put the images in, like all this kind of stuff. It's really, really intuitive, it's really easy, and it's really quick. Like when I launched the Soufflé pattern, I wanted to go in and put like a big thing on the front page about the new release, and I could go and do that in 5 minutes. It was really, really easy. So now you can get my patterns from my website, which is penroseknits.com, and all my patterns are on there. You've got loads of different payment options as well, PayPal, Apple Pay, like all the kind of stuff. So if you're not a fan of Ravelry and you'd like a different option, they are now there. I do also plan eventually to do my test knits through my website, and I'm still kind of playing around with the idea of having a mailing list or something like that, but I'm still not sure about that. I need to talk to a few more people and kind of figure out what's going to work for me. I think I mentioned in the last episode that I was finding the test knits really overwhelming, and the number of applicants I was getting was just too much for me. We were getting close to 400 last time, and it's just too much for me to go through. That's hours and hours and hours and hours of work going through all those applications, and it's brilliant that I get all these applications. I'm really grateful, and it's not lost on me, but I need to make this sustainable. I need to make sure I'm not dreading it, and I'm not like hating it basically. So when I do a test knit, I offer my test knitters obviously a copy of the final pattern, but also another pattern that I've published or a future pattern, or quite a few have said, can I test knit this other pattern? So I have got quite a few people who have signed up to test knit the Chantilly cardigan particularly already. So when that's ready to test, I'm going to reach out to them first, fill in any slots, and then after that the remaining slots will go onto Instagram or my website, and it's basically kind of like once they're filled, which I've come to the conclusion that there's no fair way of doing it. The test calls will always be open for at least 48 hours to make sure that everyone in every time zone has a chance to see it. But I think yeah, I'm just gonna have to be a little bit more business minded about it and just get it done. Ramble, went off on a tangent then, didn't mean to talk about test knits, but there we go. That's where I am, that's my website, that's what's been going on in my life. Shall we get on with some knitting content? I think so. The very first thing I'm going to tell you about is something that I am wearing, and you can kind of see it, you might have spotted it popping through. This was a whip in my last video and it was nearly finished, and I am wearing the Soufflé cami. It's not technically called the Soufflé cami because there are already a few Soufflé camis out there, and I didn't want to dilute the hashtag or like cause confusion. So it's going by the name of the Strappy Soufflé for the time being, which I quite like because it's describes what it is, and it's basically a cotton cami with the signature souffle ruffle. Yay! I made this because I wanted a cami. This is made in the Sostrena, one second, I've got some down here. This is made in the Sostrena Grana, I know that's pronounced wrong, 100% organic cotton. In the colour, do we have a colour number? 17. It's just this beautiful periwinkle blue, and my new favourite colour, I think. I've never been a blue person, but I'm really drawn to this kind of warm blue. I think it goes nicely with my hair and my skin tone and my eyes, and I knew I wanted a cami from it, but I just couldn't find a pattern that I wanted to do. A lot of the cami patterns I find are rib, and I just wasn't in the mood for that at the time. And I thought, well, let's have a go. We might as well try. And it was, I think, about 90% successful. You can kind of see the main problem already, and that is that we have too much fabric in the triangles. You can see it's kind of bunching together here. It's a little bit ripply, whereas I would like it to be a little bit more flat. And I think one of the ways I can sort that out is going to be the amount of stitches I cast on, I think. But also at my underarm, we've got quite a lot of loose space here, and I did cast on stitches under here. What I think would be better is if I wasn't to cast on any stitches under there, and I was just to pull those two triangles in a little bit, which is going to then in turn pull them out a bit. I've not got very big boobs at all. I don't know what size boobs I am, but they're little. What am I? Have I got a measuring tape anywhere around? I think last time I checked, I think I'm like 90 centimetres or something. I don't know. They're small anyway. And because I've been breastfeeding, they're also quite droopy. So this part of my chest is really quite flat, whereas a lot of people, it might be a little bit more full. So yeah, we've got a little bit of a fit tweak there. Otherwise, I'm really happy. I did an I-cord strap, which runs all the way under and all the way back up again. And the ruffle is picked up afterwards and applied on. I think it's quite subtle because it's in the cotton. It just kind of, it lays quite flat and quite stiff. And I was a little bit unsure as to whether I would like this originally, but I really do. The bottom of it is the classic folded hem, and I went down quite a few needle sizes for this because it's cotton and it's quite stiff. There's not a lot of bounce to it. I really didn't want that folded hem to look big and poofy, so I went down a needle size for both sides. Normally I just go down a size for the inside, but I did it for both sides this time and it was really effective. I kind of feel like I had an extra inch on the length, but realistically I'm not going to go back and change that now. Can't be arsed. I wore this at the weekend. We went to Devon and I wore it to the beach with some white shorts, and I really enjoyed wearing it. Going forward, oh by the way, it's a fingering weight. I did it on 3mm needles, which is probably why my body is a bit too short, because boring. So one thing I think I am going to look into changing about this design isn't going to come to market this year. It would take too long. I could rush it, but I don't want to rush it. So this is going to be something that I'm going to come back to next year in the spring, so that there can be a nice long test knit all ready for the summer. Something I would like to look into is changing the straps or giving another option for the straps. I wear this with like a little bandeau, but like as I said, I've got small boobs, so I don't really need any support like that, so I can wear it and not have a strap showing. But I also don't actually mind a bra strap. I think the placement of the straps is bang on. It kind of sits alongside, so it's not like the straps are showing, but it's like, I'm kind of like, it's just a bra strap. Like, everybody knows that some women wear bras, so what does it matter? Also, I also am aware that I've got the privilege of quite skinny bra straps. I'm not even wearing a bra really, it's more of like a stretchy crop top. But some people with bigger boobs do need a thicker strap for their bra. So what I'm thinking of doing when I remake this, which I think I will next year, I'd like to remake it in white maybe, or a camel colour or something like that. I'm going to do it with, what are they called? Double knit straps, which is where you knit one and then you slip the purl, knit one, slip the purl, you do the same both sides, and it kind of makes a double thick, this like slipped stitch kind of strap almost. It's hard to describe if you've never done it before, but it looks really, really, really good. And what it also means is, as the bust sizes get larger, I can also make the strap thicker, or I can guide on how to make the kind of the thickness of strap that you want for yourself. If you've been with me for a little while, you will know that size inclusivity and easy modification is something that's really, really important to me. On the Summer Soufflé, you can completely personalize your bicep circumference. There are, obviously for every size there is numbers given, but there's also information for how you can make them bigger or make them smaller, because arm circumference is mega personal, just like torso length is mega personal. Basically all bodies are personal. So if I had the knowledge and the pattern allows it, obviously you've got the constraints of a pattern sometimes, but if it allows it, I like to give as much information and guidance as possible to, you know, make it right for you. So when I come back to this next year, I will do a little strappy thing, and then I'll probably include instructions for the I-cord as well, because it's really, really simple. The reason I sent the I-cord all the way down along the bottom is because I had cast on stitches here and that edge needed to be covered. However, on the back of the garment, I don't know if I'll be able to show you, there is no I-cord in this, along this edge, and that is because I put the increases for the triangles right on the edge, and it gives a really, really beautiful crisp edge. And if I have my two triangles meet with no cast on stitches underneath, then we're not going to need to run the I-cord down here. So it will literally be like attach I-cord or attach double knit strap. So there you go, that's me strappy souffle. When I was wearing it to the beach at the weekend, my husband was like, why are you wearing something knitted? It's so hot. Are you not boiling hot? I was like, Ben, it's cotton. So next up I have another finished object. I showed you this yarn in the last episode. I think I bought 4 or 5 balls of the Rowan Summerlike Dk, and I bought it because I simply wanted to try it. I've seen it loads of different places. It is 100% Egyptian cotton. Yep, well, it's 100% cotton, and it says made with Egyptian cotton. So that doesn't necessarily imply that it's 100% Egyptian cotton, but either way, it's really, really soft. Compared to the soft Strenna Grenna, this is definitely drier. This is organic, this is not. And this one is definitely smoother to the touch, but this one is still super, super soft. It doesn't have the kind of dryness of some cottons. And for the price, I was really impressed with this. This one is definitely a little bit softer. It is called Summerlike Dk, but Summerlite is one word and then Dk is the other word, but I would definitely say it is a light Dk. It's put on at, I think it's, yes, 22 stitches, which I would say is a light Dk. I think the general Dk is 20 stitches, but a light Dk is 22. So I would probably use, for this, what did I use? I used a 3.5mm needle for this. So yeah, that kind of nice sweet spot between fingering and DK. You could say it's a sport weight, though I think sport weight leans a little bit more towards fingering weight. So what did you make with them, Laura? What did you make? So my original plan was to make Penelope, my daughter, her own summer souffle, like a petite summer souffle. But I couldn't be bothered. If I'm honest, I was like, I've had enough of this pattern. I'm done with the souffles. I don't want to make another one now. I want something different. So then I downloaded the Petite Knit Rigmore summer blouse, which I really like. It's kind of got like the little lacy diamonds in it. And I still want to make one of those for P, but I didn't realise it was bottom up when I made it and when I bought it, and I just wasn't in the headspace for bottom up. I have done bottom up and I actually enjoy it when I'm in the right mood for it, but it does take a bit more concentration for me, and I just did not want to. So then, after having a chat with Anina from Annie UT Knits about shorts and gussets, I got inspired to try out a design I've had in my mind for a little while. It's for a pair of knitted shorts, and it's a pair of knitted shorts I would like for myself, but at the same time I didn't want to test out a whole new construction, a whole new technique on something my size. I've got small boobs, but I've got a big butt, so that would be a lot of knitting. So I thought, let's make a pair for Penelope. So, are you ready? They're really, really cute. They haven't been washed or blocked yet because I only finished them yesterday and I didn't want them to be wet for the podcast, and as we all know, cotton can take a long time to dry, and in here we have double thickness cotton and elastic, so it would take quite a while. Anyway, here we are. Look at these little shorties. My camera cut me off after 30 minutes. I'm not sure where we stopped there, so let's just go from the I think the working title for these, I think they're going to be the school run shorts, because they have the signature. If you've seen my school run collection, it's a hat, headband and fingerless mittens, and there may be a cheeky promotion coming up for them a little time soon. They're basically a really simple winter garment that showcases picot, and it's kind of the same for these. So you've got the picot edge along the top, and I also did the picot edge along the bottom, and it's just such a cute detail, especially on children's garments. And I think if I do make these again for myself, I probably won't do the picot, but doing a picot or a folded hem is exactly the same process, just a different stitch. So if it does become a pattern, I'll include instructions for both. But what I wanted from these shorts was volume. I wanted kind of looseness and floatiness. For me, someone with a big butt and a small waist, and we'll get more into this later, shorts are really difficult because if they fit around my bum, they're too big on my waist, and if they fit around my waist, they're too small on my bum, and it's just like impossible to find shorts. The only shorts I can find that fit me are ones with an elasticated waistband and that are like a light floaty floppy material. So that's what I wanted to recreate, and I think I've done quite a good job. What I did to create the volume but not have it like a round poofy shape was I increased in 4 places. So I doubled my stitch count basically here, and the same on the back. There are no increases on the sides, and there's no increases directly in the middle. So what that does, it just controls the volume a little bit and puts it in the places we want. And for myself, I might even put more increases in the back than in the front, because I've obviously got more volume coming off the back of me than I do off the front. So, and I mean, and you could change that either way. If you've got a smaller bum but you've got a bigger tummy, you could put more increases in the front to kind of change it that way around. You could really personalize these for how your body is distributed, so that's exciting. And then the thing that was scaring me most about shorts was the gusset, and this is where Anina really helped me out. She sent me a free pattern to reference and talked about just how we did it basically. And the one thing I'm stalling on here is I can't find anywhere where I can find like measurements or standards for this kind of area of the body. So it's just going to take a little bit of trial and error, I think. But what I did in the end was I increased here until I got a section that was wide enough, and then I put the legs on. Sorry, can't see my face. I increased up to here, put the legs on hold, and then I knit this kind of long flap. I measured pennies like gusset, and then I kitchenered it to the equivalent stitches on the other side, so it's seamless, it's all connected. And then you pick up stitches along this kind of like flap here for your leg. And even though I've done it, I still don't get how it works, but it worked. And what I also did, because even though my daughter's nearly 3, she's still in nappies. Both of my children are late potty trainers. Jeff was like 3.5, and I think P will be the same. But they all get there eventually. Every child's different, it doesn't matter. But because Penny still wears nappies, I wanted a slightly wider gusset and slightly longer to kind of allow for that little nappy bulge. And again, that's something you could really personalise. If I write a child's pattern for this, kind of like sizes one, like ages 1 to like 4 or 5, you could easily add more width in the gusset for that nappy bum. Speaking of nappy bums, there are no short rows in these shorts. I didn't think it was necessary. Normally you would raise the back a little bit to allow for that bum, but because we've got so much extra fabric, it's effectively a skirt with a gusset. I don't think it was needed. I might add them into the adults one potentially, but again, I don't know how that would work with the kind of rapid increase along here. So we will see. There you go. I'm really looking forward to blocking these because at the moment this is quite drapey, but the cuffs are quite stiff. So I'm looking forward to that drape kind of continuing through the cuff. The other thing I'm thinking after making these is that for the adults version, I might use a fibre with a little bit more drape to it. Somebody mentioned doing something with a silk content, and that could work. I also quite like the idea of doing them with alpaca, doing like a wool alpaca blend and making them kind of like for autumn to like wear with tights and a big oversized jumper. Like, I really quite like the look of shorts with tights and boots and stuff. So, and the alpaca will give a really beautiful drape to all that extra volume. I've actually got this yarn, which was sent to me like to try out before We Are Knitters collabed with Zara, which is why I haven't used it yet. Literally a week after I received this, the collab was announced, and I'm not here to get political, it's not why I'm here, but it didn't feel right to me to use this or talk about it. I don't know if I'll use it again or not. I don't know. I don't really want to recommend this yarn, but we'll see. It's the Finita yarn, which is 70% merino, 30% baby alpaca. And I think it'd be really good for these shorts, like an autumn version of these shorts. It's fingering weight, so I'd hold it double. My only other thought about using alpaca is how much it will pill and how much it will pill on the butt, because you'll see how much it will pill on the butt, because you sit on your butt, right? And that's going to cause a lot of friction, and you're going to get a lot of pilling using such a soft fibre like merino or alpaca. So maybe I need to go with something a little more rustic with a mohair for the drape. We'll see. If you know of a yarn that is not going to be too pilly, obviously there's always a bit of pilling, but not too pilly, but nice and drapey, then please let me know. There must be a plant fibre out there that's got a nicer drape to it than pure cotton. We'll see. Oh, it's really nice having all my yarn right here. Shove that back in there. Oh, I do have Filcolana Saga, which is a lamb's wool, which is quite rustic, but is really lovely. I used it for my Chantilly cardigan, but it's definitely a bit more rustic. And do I want that scratchy feeling in my nether regions? Probably not. I'm gonna have to do some research for these shorts. And there you go, that's my second finished object, the school run shorts. Woohoo! Moving on, I have 2 main whips at the moment. Last episode I showed you the chocolate brown cabled raglan thing I was working on. The response to that, oh my god, thank you so much for the response. You guys really liked it, and you gave me loads of really good pattern name suggestions for it, and I think I found the one, but I'm not going to share it yet in case I change my mind. I haven't worked on that since. I have finished the cuff of the sleeve, but that's it. I've not done any more to the body. It got too warm and I've just put that aside for now, so I've not got anything to show you on that one. Also, whilst we're on the subject, thank you so much for all the kind comments from last episode. I mentioned that it was my 1-year podiversary, and I was chatting a bit about kind of how far I've come in that last year, and I didn't expect any comments about it really, but you guys said some really beautiful things, some really supportive things, and oh, it filled my heart. I wasn't expecting it that day, but it was so nice. So thank you for all the love on the last episode. But I have cast on something else that's new that you have not seen before, and this is a garment with a very specific reason. I am going to, I haven't said whose wedding it is, and neither of my other friends that are going And I don't know if we're keeping it secret. I don't know, but I won't say just in case we are keeping it secret. I'm going to a wedding in July, a very special wedding that I'm incredibly excited about. Honestly, like, I don't think I've been this excited about a wedding since my own wedding. And I needed some knitwear to wear to the wedding because of course you do. Last year it was my brother-in-law's wedding and I made a pale green Mary cardigan by Alice Hammer, and it's like a bottom up with like a lace and bobble yoke, and gorgeous design. I wear it all the time and I felt really good at that wedding in my little cardigan, because even though it was summer, that day was really rainy and it gets windy and it gets cold in the evening, so you want something to pop over you. I found the dress I'm going to wear to this wedding. I will pop a picture of it here. It is a kind of like midi to maxi length floral, kind of 70s floral, which I love, but it's kind of got cutouts on the waist and it's completely open at the back, which I really like for someone who struggled with body image for a long time. The one area of my body that I've always quite liked is my back, so if I can show that off, I will. I think I found a bra solution, but we'll see. But I needed a cardigan to go with it. And I looked at all the colours in the fabric and I wanted to pick out, so there's like pink, brown and yellow, and I wanted to pick out the pink. And I also thought pink cardigan, I'm probably going to get quite a lot more wear out of this. And because of the nature of the dress, I decided I wanted a wrap cardigan. I didn't want anything like straight here. I didn't want a V-neck like with buttons or anything like that. I wanted something that I could wrap around. So I put it to Instagram and I had loads and loads of suggestions, and in the end I went with the Wrap Me Up cardigan by Plum. And I will show you what I've done so far. There's no needles attached or anything. I've not actually picked this up for a little while, so it might be a bit creased. Here we are. It's going to be tricky to show you properly, really. It is 100% mohair. It is 4 strands of mohair held together at once, and to do that I pulled from the inside and the outside of 2 balls, so I didn't have 4 balls rolling around. This is the Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair. It's my first experience of this yarn and oh my god, it was worth every penny. I think I'm going to get a lot of wear out of this. You can see what I've done so far. It's got a, you can't really see it, like a ribbed neckband that is worked within the garment. It's raglan shaping at the top, and I chose to go for the peplum option because it's not blocked. You can't really see the full effect of the drape of the peplum yet, but you can have like a peplum version or like a straight version, and I thought the peplum would look really nice. The next thing I need to do is I need to obviously give it some sleeves. The pattern is like just past the elbow, but I'm going to try and make them a little bit longer if I can. I'm concerned I don't have enough yarn, but we'll see. I can always order a little bit more. Knitting for Olive, because I order directly from Knitting for Olive. They're great with their dye lots. When I was doing my brown jumper, I did 2 orders quite far apart and they still managed to match the dye lot, so I'm not worried about that. And I also saved some yarn because in the original pattern, the I-cord edge along the peplum was like a 4-stitch I-cord, and I just thought it looked far too big. So I went for a 3-stitch I-cord, which I think looks a little bit more dainty and saved me a bit of yarn. Now, there's an elephant in the room if you know this pattern. It is not size inclusive, unfortunately, and I didn't realise this when I got it and started to make it. I looked at quite a lot of different wrap cardigans. Let's just check my facts here, because I am sure that in this pattern on the page it says you can make it bigger, because it only goes, let's have a look. So it's extra small to extra large, 88 to 112 centimeters, which isn't great. That is a very small amount of sizes. It says the cardigan is therefore almost without sewing together, and you can try it on along the way during the knitting process, so you can continuously tailor it to your own measurements. yeah, I don't know if I just misinterpreted that or mixed it up with a different pattern. I'm sure it said something about you can make it bigger if you need to, but there are no instructions in the pattern for that. There's no guidance on that, even though it would be really, really simple. And this is what kills me. This garment, to add a couple more sizes onto it would be so easy. It's not that difficult at all. So I was really disappointed that that was the case, and like a little bit annoyed at myself for not doing the research properly. But it is like motivating me to maybe look into creating my own wrap cardigan that is size inclusive, because I really like the fit. I think it looks really beautiful on most body types, if not all body types. And I do have a cheeky little idea for a wrap top that I might, go down in the future. So yeah, the other thing about this pattern that I wasn't so keen on is that the English translation is not good. It's okay, so it's not that it's not good. I managed, but it was just weird. There were words in there that didn't really make sense. For example, when they say to use like scrap yarn to put stitches on hold or to do a provisional cast on, it says use an auxiliary thread, which doesn't make any sense to me at all. And the other thing is that there are hardly any stitch counts throughout the whole pattern. I think the first stitch count you get is after you split for sleeves and body. Obviously it tells you how much to increase by and how often to increase and stuff, but I would have expected before the split to have a stitch count, because you want to check you've got the right amount of stitches. And to check that after you split for the sleeves and body is a real pain in the bum if you got it wrong and you have to go back and change it, especially when you're working with pure mohair. So I definitely think the pattern itself needs some work. It could be made better quite easily. But this pattern's been out for a long time, so I guess they're happy with how it is as it is. Plenty of people have knit it. It's a beautiful garment. The design of it is really, really lovely, and it's why I chose it, but it just falls short a little bit when it comes to the actual pattern, which is a real shame. So that's my other whip, and I think that brings us to the ends of the project. Is that really it? Oh my god, no, there is another one. I'm ridiculous. I have got another whip that I haven't even showed you. I'm getting quite tired. Okay, so this is going to be an interesting one because, again, not my design. And it is a test knit. Oh, I'm doing a test knit. I said to myself this year, no test knits for other people. But I'm also, I don't live by my own rules. I'm like, restriction of any form always leads to binging of some form. So if you're going on I'm going to go on a yarn ban, I'm not going to buy any more yarn. What are you going to do? You're probably going to buy yarn. I'm not going to do any test knits, so you're probably going to do a test knit. So the reason I said to myself I don't want to do test knits is because I wanted to allow as much time as possible for my own designs, for my own test knits. I wanted to be able to work on the things I wanted to work on without having to work to somebody else's deadline. And so far, mohair on me, that's worked really, really well. But I've got to a point now where I've kind of got a gap in my own schedule. I've not got a new test knit coming up for another couple of weeks, and my other test knits have now finished. And when I saw this pattern and I spoke to the designer about it, it was like, I feel like this was meant to be. Like, this is going to be really good for everyone involved, I think. So yeah, let's do it. These are, I mean, this is all I can show you so far, and this is being ripped out shortly. I am test knitting the Hemingway shorts for the lovely The Knitting Booth, Lara. It's her first design, shorts for a first design, and they are fully size inclusive shorts. Bravo, well done. Honestly, it was like, wow, I can't believe this is the first design. I'll pop a picture in so you can actually see them on Lara. And when I first saw them and I messaged her, I messaged her because I was like, these shorts are amazing. I would really like to make some. However, I've got the big bum, small waist problem. She gave me a little bit more detail on how they're constructed. And they're one size and then the waist is pulled in with elastic. So for me, that wouldn't work because to get the width here, it would get really bunchy around the waist. So I said, oh, okay, no, that wouldn't work for me. Like, it's just my body type. I think Lara says she's got like 20 centimeters or something between bum and waist, and I've got like 35 or something crazy, so for me it just wouldn't work. And so I just kind of put it to bed, and then when she did the test call, she messaged me saying, I'm going to do some shaping. I think we should test out some shaping so that more people can get the fit that they want. Do you still want to test? And it was like, yay! I was so pleased when she said it, because one, it means I can actually hopefully wear these shorts, and two, it's another new designer doing everything they can to make garments that work for as many people as possible. You can't make one garment work for everyone. That's just life. But if there's something you can do, I believe you should do it. And it meant that I get to go full into like nerdy, geeky knitting mode. It's like, right, we're problem solving here, we've got stuff to do, let's work together, let's try it out, let's have a little look. And I just got so excited about it. And I was really, really, really pleased. So what's my phone? My phone's going off. Knitting group, okay. Hi girls. Let's start with the yarn, which is just down here behind me. I can't get it. The original Hemingway shorts are knit in Drops Bell, which I have worked with before for my Seabourn tee. However, I wasn't feeling any of the colours. I kind of wanted something a little bit fun. I originally wanted yellow. What I really wanted to do was make a pair of bright yellow shorts, but I couldn't find a yarn that I wanted in the right colour. So in the end, I went with, as you've already seen, my current second favourite colour, lilac. I love lilac. I've actually got a pair of lilac shorts that I wear all the time. And it's just a colour that I think suits me. It's kind of like the blue. It just suits my hair colour, it suits my skin tone. And I think lilac also looks really, really nice when you've got a bit of a tan. I tan really easily, so hopefully I'll get a bit of colour this year. So I looked on Wool Warehouse. I nearly went with the Rowan cotton cashmere soft cotton, something like that. It was on offer basically, but I wasn't completely sure on the colour. And then I can't remember, was this in a sale? I can't remember, this might have been in sale, it might not, but either way it was a really good price. I went with the King Cole Finesse Cotton Silk DK, and this is 77% cotton, 23% silk, and it's really, really, really lovely. It feels, let's get me other ones. Oh, I didn't mean to do a little summer yarn comparison for you here. So this one is definitely the driest, but still soft. This one is really soft. This one is, I think these are actually quite similar, and considering this is 100% cotton and this has silk in it, that says a lot about this one. But what I like about this one is you can clearly see the silk and cotton when it's been spun together, and you can kind of, it gives a kind of bumpy texture. It's not completely smooth, it's not completely flat, and I really like it. It's called Lilac Mist, by the way. Let me give you a close-up. I just felt like it would be right for shorts, and I got quite a lot in the end. I was like, oh my god, this is far too much. But this waistband has been like pretty much one ball. Obviously it's a folded over waistband, and my waistband has elastic inside already, as you can see, and unfortunately I've chosen the wrong size. So I followed all the measurements, I measured myself, which doesn't really bother me anymore. I don't mind. It kind of means nothing. The number doesn't mean anything to anymore, which is nice, progress. I measured my waist and my hips and figured out which sizes I was going to do, because I'm basically doing one size for the waist, and I'm going to increase up the side of the shorts to get to my butt measurement. And when I measured, I was on my period and I think I was bloated. So they're basically way too big. They're gappy around my waist, and there's just too much fabric in the waistband. So the idea is your elastic is a little bit smaller than the circumference you want. So when it stretches out to fit your body, it goes nice and flat like that. But I mean, you can see that's even too big for my bust. So, and my waist is smaller than my bust. So didn't get that quite right. The other problem is, because of my hypothyroid, I've actually lost quite a lot of weight, and that isn't permanent. I'll go back to my kind of normal body size in the future anyway, but since I originally measured, I think I've lost a bit of weight, a bit more. So again, they're too big. But so I'm kind of stuck in this place where I'm like, do I go for the size that fits now, or do I go for probably a more realistic size for in the future? And I'm thinking in the end, this is really, really stretchy, the elastic and the fabric itself. So I'm going to go with the slightly smaller, and if I get bigger, they'll just be a bit more fitted. We'll see. Or I'll just make another bigger pair next year. We'll see. So yeah, I'm going to rip this all out and start again in a smaller size, and hopefully they will work. The original pattern has pockets, kind of little, they're like afterthought pockets. So if you imagine you're doing an afterthought heel, you kind of put scrap yarn in, take that scrap yarn out, pick up all the stitches, and then like knit a little tube and close it off, and that's your pockets. I don't think I'm going to do the pockets, purely because I don't want the kind of extra bulk on my tummy. Because my tummy is round, my tummy goes out, it's not flat. That extra fabric on the front, I think it's going to look a bit like lumpy and bumpy for me. Whereas if you've got a flat tummy, that fabric will stay flat and will just sit there nicely. Whereas I think the curve of my tummy might distort those pockets a bit. So I'm not going to do the pockets. But I could always go in and add the pockets afterwards. Like, I'm confident doing like a normal, like a true afterthought where you snip the yarn and then pick up the stitches. I'm confident doing that, I don't mind. But I also don't think I'd ever put anything in those pockets because they're on the front, they're not on the side, so I wouldn't put my hands in them. Don't think I'll be doing the pockets. But yeah, so that's my other little project. My phone is going mad. Oh my god, it's the girls, what are they talking about? So there we go, that's all the projects I've got on and off my needles at the moment. The next little thing I've got to show you is an acquisition, but it's not yarn. I haven't bought any yarn this month. I clearly don't need to. But I was contacted and asked if I would like to try something, and like I've said to you guys before, I more often say no than I say yes, and I only try something if I really, really want to. And when they contacted me, they said, would you like to try this product and then show it in your podcast? I said, yes, I would like to try it, but only if I can be 100% honest with my audience. And they said, yes, that's fine, we are confident in our product. And they were right to be confident in their product. I have never really talked about needles ever. I think that's because I've not really been that bothered about needles until recently. Learning more about what works for me, what I like, and kind of investing more in needles. I bought the Licker wooden needles for Christmas for myself. And they look like this. I really like them. I'm still using them, and yeah, they're great. But I wanted a set of metal needles. So funnily enough, a week before I was contacted about this needle set, I actually bought a set of metal needles, and I bought the Addy Clicks. Oh, I'm very out of focus. I bought the Addy Clicks. I've seen quite a few people use them. I liked the idea that I didn't have to try and screw them in all the time, that they just like tick tick clicked in. And to be honest, I've not used them very much because I've been using my Hiya Hiyas, and I found them just as faffy as finding like the little key thing and tightening it and rubbery things and stuff. So I've not used the Addy Clicks very much yet, so I'm not going to compare between all the different needles at the moment. I'm just going to tell you what I think of the Hiya Hiya. But yeah, that's my other set. And when these ones arrived, I was like, oh, Laura, you are a very lucky girl, because I have been blown away by these needles. I really, really like them. So I received I'm not sure what it's called. It's the full set, basically. There are different levels. You can get different size sets with different amount of needle tips in them, different amount of cords. And this is the full set. We'll get onto that problem later. And this is what the needle case looks like from the inside. You can see all my tips along the bottom. We've got all these little sections for cords, and I've got all my short circulars here as well. And the first thing that I like about this needle set is that there is plenty of space for growth. You can see like there are 9 pockets and all these spaces for needles. Now, the thing that I don't like about this is the needles fall out when I'm moving it around, as you literally just saw. All these little sections for needles, they're all different sizes and I don't really understand why. It's hard for me to keep track of which needle is which, and they fall out, which means I lose them. So the one thing I would change about this needle set is the way the needles are stored. All you'd need is like a bit of elastic along there, or like a Velcro flap that you can hold them in there. But other than that, like, it's brilliant. I love that it's like a tool pouch. Like, I feel like I'm, you know, a builder or like an engineer getting all their tools out. It's like, whoa. And I really, really like how small it is. If you look at, I mean, I know I said I wasn't going to compare, but if you look at the size of these compared to the size of this, you're going to take this with you, aren't you? You're not going to take these. I feel like these have a lot of empty space. Granted, the needles don't fall out of these, but it's definitely bigger than it needs to be. And to be fair, all my notions fall out of here anyway, so nothing's going to be that perfect. But overall, I love how small and compact this is. It also came with a little pouch of notions. It had a little teeny pair of scissors, embroidery needles, stitch markers, like just like a little bag of goodies basically. It's also got cable connectors and cable extenders, and then in the back there is a little zip in the back for even more storage. I had to ask what these were for. I had no idea what they were for. In the back you have got this little pouch of sticks and little balls that go on the end of the sticks. And what these are basically, they turn your interchangeable circular needles into straight needles. They screw together to make one long needle. You put the little ball on the end and you have a straight needle, which is so clever. And the guy I spoke to said that the reason for that is to make straight needles a lot more portable, and that totally makes sense. And there's also, for the bigger needle tips, the end is thicker than the cable, so you also have a little thing in here which you screw it in so that you can attach your thicker needles to your thinner cables. I don't use straight needles, like, ever. Even if I'm working flat, I will use a cable needle because I like how much lighter they are, rather than like heavy and long. I find, like, I remember, oh my god, girls, can you be quiet? This is crazy. I find they would get in the way. I'd always end up like elbowing my like partner, and when I was like changing and moving around, I'd be like moving my needles, and he'd be like, "Oh, you're gonna poke me." So I'm just not really a straight needle fan. However, there will most likely be a time in my future that I will need to use them. So that's like a little look into the actual needle case itself. Let's look at the needle tips. Is it Michael? I think it was Michael. Hi, Michael. Michael asked me if I wanted the steels. I'm getting a bit hot. If I wanted the steels, see, this is what happens. I'm like, even though I'm sitting here still, quiet, I'm not moving about, the room isn't hot, I suddenly get like for a while I thought I was having early menopause, because like the hotness, the flushes, and like the sweatiness all the time. It's just like, what is going on? But it's just because my body temperature is raised because everything's going wah! Anyway, so yes, he asked me if I wanted the steels or the sharps, and I was like, do I want the sharps? I've heard really good things about the sharps. But no, I don't think I do like enough sock knitting and lace knitting to really go for the sharp. So I went with the steels, and they are still the sharpest points I've ever seen in my life. I will show you a small one and a big one. I'll do the old makeup YouTuber, hand behind the product. They're pretty pointy, and the small ones particularly are really quite, I'd say they are sharp, they are pointy, but I have so far not hurt myself on them. And I love how long and thin and pointy they are. I said I wasn't going to do a comparison, but
I'm not comparing the quality or anything, just the shape. I can't get it to focus, but you can see the difference between the Addies and the Hiya Hiya. It's subtle, but it's there. And the reason I like that extra long, thin, pointy tip is it just finds the stitch. I don't know if that makes sense, but that pointy tip, it just finds where it's supposed to go. Since I've been using these, and I've been using these for every single project that I can, unless it's something that is better with a wooden needle. I've done more not looking at my knitting than I've ever done before. I'm sitting there watching Stranger Things and I'm like, blah, blah, like they're hiding behind my knitting watching it. But I don't need to look as much because it just finds where it needs to go, because it's that point just glides in and it just so good. The other thing I was really surprised about when I first picked these up is how light they are for metal tips. I feel like they must be hollow because they feel just so lovely and light. The cables, so far I'm happy with the cables. They spin independently. The needle and the cable spin separately, which for me is really important with interchangeable needles, because if they don't, what I mean is the bit you attach that attaches the needle to the cord spins around without the cord spinning around. So what that means is when you're working, the needle itself doesn't come undone. Quite often I find that happens, and some people, I think continental knitters especially, find that their needle unscrews and comes off because of the constant turning round. But because your needle is free to spin independently, then that doesn't happen. The licky needles do that, and I think Chalgu do that as well. So yeah, really like that. And to attach them, you don't actually need anything. It comes with little rubber grippers, but I'm able to just screw it in and it doesn't naturally come unscrewed. It kind of stays where it is. You can use the little, where are they? The little rubber grippers to hold each bit and really tighten it. So yeah. Oh gosh, yeah, I'm struggling to unscrew that without the rubber bits. So yeah, I think the construction of them and the way they work and the quality of them is just really brilliant. I'm really relieved that I like them, because I was like, oh no, this is going to be really awkward if I say I'm going to talk about these and I don't really like them. Oh, but I really do. And I got the 4-inch tips. I think it's Hiya Hiya as well. It's my little, yeah. This is my little 2.25 sock needle. This is Hiya Hiya as well. I got the 4-inch tips, which I find is kind of like a nice in between. My licker needles are the 5-inch, and for yokes and bodies and all that kind of thing, they're fine. I like a long needle, it feels more comfortable in my hands. But for doing sleeves and smaller circumferences, you have to go magic loop. And even though I've been like a magic loop advocate from day one, I'm finding myself wanting to do it less and less, just because if I can do it on a small circumference needle, it's just a little bit quicker and a little bit easier. And I find a little more mindless. So yeah, I'm thinking I may well purchase some of the longer tips, or just another set of like 4mm, 3mm, 3.5, 4.5, maybe 5. They're the ones that I use the most. I don't use the teeny needles very often. I don't use the big ones very often, but that kind of middle size, I think I might have to purchase another set, because I really like working with them, and I might order some more cables as well, because I basically want to use them across all my projects all at the same time. And I'm really bad at taking those projects off the needle and like onto like barber cords or something, which I've also run out of again. I keep buying them, but I keep running out of them. They're like hair grips. So there you go, that's my little acquisition for you, and thank you so much to Hiya Hiya. Hiya Hiya Europe actually is who it was that reached out to me for sending me this. Like, I'm not worthy. Thank you. Back in the room. So we have covered the kind of like life chatty things. nitty chat. So I've kind of gone through what's coming up for me in the next couple of weeks. So I'm just going to do a couple of recommendations. Have I got any recommendations? I got some hot new releases, that's for sure. And I got a little discount code for you too. So first of all, I'm going to share with you the Ethereal socks by House of Belia, also known as my dear friend Anna. These are a gorgeous pair of socks. And when she showed me them, it was like, oh, they are going to do well. They are like, they've got a ruffle on them, of course. But what Anna's done with the ruffle is, I think you cast off in a contrast yarn. And it looks awesome. Like, I've not seen that done with a ruffle before, so that's really, really cool. And they've got this beautiful kind of colourwork design that's on, like, the kind of goes around the heel and the toe. And they're just absolutely beautiful. So those are different versions from testers. I think Anna's are originally in like a hand-dyed yarn, but I've also seen some in solid yarns, which I really, really like pink and white, gorgeous. And I told Anna that I was going to share them in the podcast, and she said, would you like a discount code? So let me just bring it up for you. Where is it? Where are you, Anna? There you go. So you can get 25% off, not just the Ethereal socks, but any of Anna's sock patterns. And she's got a few really beautiful colourwork sock patterns for you now. And you just need to use the code PenroseKnits25. So I'll put it in the description box below as well, and I will link you to her Ravelry page. So congratulations, Anna, on another beautiful sock release. And the other one I want to show you about, the other hot new release I want to tell you about is something that you may have seen. This is quite a more well-known designer, and it is Colibri by Joanna. I've had my eye on this designer for a long, long time. I really like her kind of simple but always interesting aesthetic, and she recently released a summer top called the Evelyn top. I very, very nearly applied to test this, but I just didn't have space in my diary at the time. It is a ribbed tank top, but it's like a striped rib, and it's so cool. I think it looks like 70s. I bought the pattern the moment it came out. I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to knit it anytime soon, but it was like, I want this one in my collection. Bought it straight away. Her sample is like white background with like pinky, purpley red stripes. I'd really like to do one with a white background, but with kind of like 70s kind of colours, like brown, pink and yellow maybe, kind of like my dress that I'm wearing to the wedding. So yeah, she uses twisted rib for the neckband and the armbands. I would probably omit that because I don't like twisted rib, but I just think it's really, really cool. And from what I am aware of, it goes up to size 4XL, which is 120 centimetres, no inches. Oh man, I hate it when patterns don't have like centimetres and inches. It's a weird one because it takes up so many more words and so many more numbers when you have both. And obviously it completely depends what country you're in, where you're from, what you prefer, but I don't know why I prefer to work in garments in inches, because it feels like the numbers are smaller and easier to remember. Like, I know that my perfect yoke depth is 8 to 9 inches, but I don't know what that is in centimetres at all. I know that my perfect sleeve length is 16 inches, but I don't know what that is in centimetres. So I feel like I have to do a lot more working out when it's just centimetres, but that is just me. Some people are like, inches? What? And it's weird because in the UK we work in centimetres, but we are there. I think the government are going to go back to inches, so yay for me. So there you go, that's your second hot new release. Ooh, somebody just shared their summer soufflé. Oh, look at that. I love it in that colour. It's so beautiful. I got distracted by a video of Harry Styles. So those are your hot new releases for this episode. I don't have any podcast recommendations this week because I haven't really been watching anything new. I haven't really been watching very much because, as I said, sometimes the tiredness, I haven't got the brain capacity to like sit and like watch something and actually pay attention to it. I'm just like background stuff at all times. I've watched a lot of Geordie Shore, but also I tend to watch knitting podcasts whilst I'm knitting. So because I've not been knitting as much, I've not been watching as much. But But please let me know in the comments your current favourite knitting podcast, apart from this one. Seriously, let me know in the comments what your favourite knitting podcast at the moment is, so that hopefully I can find something new, you know, the one that makes you go, oh, yay, new episode. So yeah, I think we've come to the end on that one. Thank you so much for joining me. I think this is going to be a shorter one than normal. Who knows? Thank you as always for all your support. Thank you to everyone who has supported my patterns by buying them, sharing them, and helping with the reach, and all your words of encouragement, all your virtual hugs, which I really appreciate because I don't like actual hugs. And I will see you next time. Bye bye.